Next, we'll be answering one of the weekend's biggest questions. Who has the nicest coat? Young Scar or Shadow the Hedgehog? Let's begin with Sheen. The Game Awards 2024 happened last week, and there were surprising winners and funny speeches and touching speeches, but the thing is, nobody cares about those things. Get a clue. Above all else, the Game Awards 2024 had trailers. Better trailers than ever before. So let's talk about those. If you told me a week ago The Witcher 4 would be in the Game Awards, I'd say, okay, that will obviously be the biggest trailer of the show. And if we're going by YouTube views, I'm not wrong about that. But I guess beyond the confirmation that Ciri will be the main playable character, I don't feel like this trailer left a massive impact on the public imagination. It's a different person, sure, but she's mostly still doing Witcher stuff. Here we go, drinking potions so she can do slightly more damage. I'm just saying, as a reveal trailer, it doesn't provide a lot to chew on for the next 2 or 3 years. Or 4. Or 5. Or 6. My favorite trailer for the show is for Fumito Ueda's untitled Project Robot. And what I love about it is just how tangible it feels. It's clear in the opening seconds that you're watching someone control a video game character. But I can acknowledge that it's kind of a low-key announcement. Maybe some of that Ueda allure has worn off in the years since The Last Guardian, but I do believe someday people will come to realize that this was the greatest game shown. Until then, I can understand that 150-something million people just don't get it yet. After all, the rocket boosters are the robot's ears, and that just looks silly. Unlikely sequels for Virtua Fighter, Onimusha, and Okami were announced. But, in my opinion, the biggest trailer of the show belonged to a brand new franchise, Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. I guess we can't say it's a new IP starting from nothing. It's from the studio who brought you Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, Uncharted, and The Last of Us. Naughty Dog. But it's still cool to see a brand new thing like this at this scale at a time when it is riskier to do than ever. So I was rewatching the reveal trailer a lot, and it kind of hit me how similar it actually is to Concord. And not in the way that the YouTube comments would suggest, but it belongs in this strangely specific subgenre of sci-fi spaceship lifestyle trailer. Because, it's hard for normal people like you and me to imagine ourselves being space travelers. But it feels more grounded when we see things that we're familiar with. Like cheeseburgers and sandwiches. Or soda cups. Whoa, that's what I drink out of. So then I was watching that Starfield reveal trailer. And it's actually even more similar to the Intergalactic trailer. There's a lot of shots in common. Starfield, Intergalactic. Yeah, I got this and you got that. You got this, you got that. Flipping switches. Boosters on. And in putting them side by side, you do begin to appreciate the differences between the two approaches. So here they are, the 3 big differences between the reveals of Starfield and Intergalactic. First, probably most obviously, character. Starfield introduces you. You are special. You found the key to unlocking everything.
What you found, it's the key to unlocking everything.
Intergalactic introduces Jordan A. Munn. Let me know if that's pronounced Moon, which would be cool and funny, but for now I'm going to presume it's Munn. In this game, that's you. You are so badass, and you're the boss.
There, you're the boss.
Obviously, 2 very different choices, and like in a Bethesda game, you're going to be a created character, so that the approaches are inherently different. Neither is the right way to go. But I'm super impressed by the facial animation. Maybe it's because I spent too much time playing Star Wars Outlaws this year, but I was studying this shift from fearful apprehension to space to this almost darkly focused game face. You're looking at the same thing I'm looking at. Maybe that's not impressive to you, but to me, that's just animators showing off. Also, the eye patch was a good call. An eye patch is like a narrative gimme. Makes anyone more interesting. 2. Aesthetic. So Starfield referred to their look as NASA punk.
We've been referring to this approach as NASA punk. This means a design language where the tech is advanced, yet still looks grounded and relatable.
And I guess we have the advantage of hindsight on this one, but I have to say, NASA punk didn't really resonate. Hard to look at Starfield spacecraft and say, oh yeah, that is definitely Starfield. Meanwhile, I'd say the most standout aspect of Intergalactic is how well it's nailed down its aesthetic, which is 80s sci-fi cool. One of the first things your eyes settle on in the Intergalactic trailer is the Porsche logo on the back of this cool spaceship. Now, your media training up to this point has probably led you to believe that anytime you see a recognizable brand in a movie or TV show or video game, that they paid to be there. Pizza Hut paid to have the Ninja Turtles eat them.
Of course, you've all tasted the 5-cheese pizza. But this...
I don't think it worked that way this time. To be frank with you, I think Porsche was approached because it's cool. And most importantly, cool in the 80s. Adidas? Cool in the 80s. Sony? Incidentally, cool in the 80s. So this kind of cool 80s vision of an alternate future that couldn't possibly be but seems like a nod to the movies that these developers clearly loved, it's a cleanly defined aesthetic. And also, I do feel like this is maybe a little unfair. I feel like a lot of game studios couldn't get a deal like that. You know what I mean? I'm imagining like a Porsche executive, even somebody at marketing, getting a phone call from a game designer and they say, no. Is it a car game? No. But then you have Neil Druckmann from HBO. Do you know the HBO series The Last of Us? And they say, HBO, you say? Let him in. Let's talk. I have HBO. Now, there is one aspect of Intergalactic's aesthetic that I think is plainly weak. And if you read 300 negative YouTube comments, it'll drive you crazy because none of them even acknowledge this, the actual thing that's wrong with the game. This robot enemy is kind of boring. It's kind of bland comparatively. Because game designers, you know this. If you want to launch a franchise, the design of your baddies is just as important as the design of your main characters. That's why Borderlands is so attached to this stupid mask. It's the one thing everyone recognizes. So we all know it's going to be a long time until Intergalactic is ready to be released. There is, quite frankly, plenty of time to fix that robot. Let me give you a few recommendations. Red eyes are played out. Of all the glowing eye colors in the imagined universe, how are you going to go and pick red again? I'm going to recommend purple eyes. Think about that. You could own purple eyes. Next, I can't explain this, but I really think it would be more fun to chop up that robot if it had a mouth. See? Now I really want to fight this guy. Fuck this robot. And finally, it needs a defining characteristic. I'm going to suggest a big full head of human hair. Maybe they harvested it from humans, or maybe they became obsessed with hair for some reason, so they spent years developing a method to grow it themselves. And that actually adds a kind of interesting dynamic with our protagonist, who chooses not to have a full head of hair. I can't believe Naughty Dog isn't considering these things. Anyway, there you go. Iconic enemy design. And the number 3 big difference. Franchisability. And now we get into the sticky muck of the truth. Because I feel like Interstellar in its reveal is selling me more of a franchise than it is selling me a video game. This is the title of their PlayStation blog post. Announcing Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, a new franchise. From Naughty Dog. Weird use of capital letters there. Starfield was also very clearly trying to sell you a franchise. And looking at the provided facts, Starfield is a massive success today. However, I believe it has limited potential as a franchise. Hard to imagine genuine excitement for a Starfield TV show or movie, let alone the next DLC expansion. This is a brand new universe, 25 years in the making. I'm not saying they're going to bail on it, but also, I'm saying they should probably bail on it. Conversely, I feel like Intergalactic did a better job of presenting a franchise. You can imagine the world beyond the characters presented there. You could be curious about what else you might see in this universe. What other subtitles they could come up with. I actually think this shot is pretty dorky. Seems like it's just bait for YouTubers to pause and dissect. Because when you're watching it in real time, it's too fast to even comprehend what you should be looking at. I think I saw 5 aces at one point. What do you want me to read? But Neil Druckmann himself in that PlayStation blog post promises this will be the deepest gameplay in Naughty Dog's history. Yet the trailer made absolutely no effort to convey that at all. So I think there's a concern that maybe some big studios are getting ahead of themselves. Maybe you just need to focus on making one good video game before even imagining the tie-in comic books. But at the same time, I imagine that it may be difficult to acquire, to get the green light for a AAA game budget without promising to your bosses, your Herman Holsts, that you will provide them with decades of transmedia revenue. Can probably sell that jacket at some point. So I think the scenario we're stuck with in our modern age is if you want a game as nice as Intergalactic, if you want a team of hundreds to work on facial animation like that, or, have this budget, or, have a Porsche logo on the spaceships, it needs to be a franchise and not just one game. Otherwise, the investment would not be worth it. If it is just one game, you're going to have a little jankiness. And as you can certainly tell, I'm quite the janky individual myself. So no judgments there. And that is delayed input for this week. I will be back next week. Until then, thanks for watching. Something that's personally kind of interesting to me coming out of the Game Awards is that FromSoft announced a multiplayer Elden Ring game that is deeply hard to care about. Talking about Elden Ring Night Rain. If you're just an audio listener, that's rain as in a period of ruling and not, precipitation. But it's an alternate universe run-based co-op Fortnite Storm game, but with Elden Ring. It's interesting to witness a From Software trailer that has all of the elements of a thing that you love, but is just missing a certain magical intrigue. It's almost exactly like why I think it's scary to clone a dog after they die. Once again, this is a multiplayer sequel, quasi-sequel, to Elden Ring, Bandai Namco's best-selling game of all time. This should be huge. We should be frothing for this. And I don't know, generally, I feel like even hardcore fans are like, yeah, let's go, at best. So it is Christmas still. Maybe I can help you out. Maybe I can give you a few tips to make Elden Ring Night Rain exciting to people. Tip 1, Naruto crossover. I'm right about this. If you're putting this whole thing in some alternate timeline, enemies from other Souls games is not good enough. I need Orochimaru. Tip 2, tongue XP. This one's a very good idea. So it kind of works like how the Scarves did in Journey. Basically, if you complete a run, if you're living at the end of the 3 days and you defeat the boss, your tongue grows a little longer. So then when you're lobbying up with people, there's this process where everyone goes all right, let's see him. And everybody goes, what? And then if you got somebody on your team who's flopping down into the grass, you're in good hands. So you follow their lead. Basically, it's okay, longest tongue picks where we drop. I really think this would get people talking. Tip 3, friend sabotage. Has anyone done this before? Here's what I'm suggesting. Basically, I give you money for you to ruin the game for my friends. Basically, I'll give you $5 and then you make sure that they never get good loot. They're opening a chest and it's just some fucking blue potion.